Hello, we're very nearly there. If you're sticking with this, well done. There's an awful lot of information and we've had to type vast amounts and I've been flying through, which probably hasn't helped. But well done anyway. And so we just need to finish off this. If I run the interface, I want to add a button here. So this is going to say find file, and when you click on it, it's going to open up a dialog, and then you can select a file from the dialog box, and that's going to be put into the enter file path entry box there, and then we click on submit, we're going to see this at the bottom. So let's create that button. So if I scroll down within here down to the frame 2, I want to put it on the same row as the entry there. So first of all I need to create the button object. So let's call it, I've got BTN 1 and 2, so let's call this one 3. And it's going to be of the type button. And this is going to be within frame 2. It's lovely, isn't it? I do like IntelliJ IDEA. So you can see it's already selected frame 2 because it knows I'm working within frame 2. So it picks that as the most likely option. It's more the fact that actually I've just used frame 2 on the previous line. But the fact he managed to work that out means that saves an awful lot of typing and looking around for things. I love it. Anyway, okay, so button. So I want to have some text on there. And this is going to be, say I want to find file. I need to call a module which I haven't created yet. And what this is going to do is allow me to open a dialog box within there. So before I create that, let's place this here. So I'm going to put a BTN 3, and I want this to be placed via the grid. And in effect, I want to have it on the same row as the entry box. So I'm going to put that as being 1. Yeah, it's not going to be brilliantly positioned. I'll have to muck about with the positions a bit here, but I'm going to put it on column 2, and that should look, so it's roughly right. It's going to be a little further over in the text box than I would like. Yeah, it's appeared over there. I'd want to muck about with columns here and positionings to get it absolutely spot on. Sometimes I find it runs over the entry box bits, but it's close enough here, and we can work with it, and it works as a button. Okay, so let's get it to do something. So up to my button, and like we did with the submit button, I want to for it to do something, and it's going to do a command, and it's going to run a module which we're going to create in a second. So I'm going to call the module load underscore file. I'm going to, as before, I'm going to highlight that, right click then, and then choose copy just to make sure I don't make any typos. I'm just going right up to the top, and I'm just going to give myself a couple of lines within here. Same again, it needs actually 2-line spacing within it. It's quite complex what we need to do, but actually there's not much typing within this. Let's give those 2 lines. And so I'm going to define the module, and I'm going to then paste in that load file. Hasn't got any arguments that come in there, colon to finish it off. And I need to place the retrieve into a variable. So it needs to load up that entry box. So I'm going to create a variable that's going to take that and say text underscore file path. And that's going to equal, now I'm going to get an error from this one, but I'm going to equal a file dialog, and we'll look to import this one in a bit. And I then want to ask open file name, all one word, all lowercase. So that's going to allow us to find a file basically within a dialog. So we need to give that a few little things to define it. So when it opens up, it comes up with some types and the file types and sort of things that you can have. So we need to set that up. So I'm going to say file types equals, there's a lot of brackets that are going to come in here. So I want to say, okay, I want to choose the parameter. There's going to come is a little drop down, so I'm going to put 2 within here. So the first one is going to be choose file, and then after quotes put a comma, and I want to put a quotes star.star, and then after that next bracket I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to put this on a new line just so I can see all of this together. I'm going to open up another set of brackets, and this time it's going to say text file, and close the quotes, comma, and then within quotes I want to say star.txt, because I obviously want to open up txt files. And right at the end, I have to scroll over, I should have 3 brackets closing off the general and the file types and the specific one. Okay, it's going to give me an error. So when I click on it, and the error says find file dialog not defined. Yeah, I need to import it. So annoyingly, it actually is part of the TkInter, and I thought it imported everything, but it's I have to go above it. I don't know why it needs to be above it. I've looked trying to find out about that, but it doesn't work if I put it below. So hey ho. So from TkInter again, and this time I want to say dot. And this is exactly as it is down below. There is file dialog, and it's going to put the import in there already. And again, what I want to import there is exactly the same as we see down here. So I'm going to Control-C and Control-V that one in, is the ask open file name. So in effect, it's giving me the information that I need in order to be able to create that dialog. It's still got a little red line, but actually it will resolve because it'll import it when it runs it, and we certainly won't have that rude message. Okay, so now when I click on the find file, it can be slow the first time you run it. It takes a little while. That worked quite quickly. So I've got the choose file down there, click on the drop down and choose the text, and I've got a text file example, and I click on open, and that in effect is going to store that. It's not putting it within the entry box, but it's storing it in that variable. So now let's make sure that's going to go into that text box. So previously we've done the get to get information out of the text box. We now need to get stuff in. So I want to put it into the entry 2. It's not actually get, and it's not post, it's insert. And what I want to insert into there is I want to start at position 0, and we'll put in a txt underscore file path within there. Right, let's give that a run. So go to the find file, drop down, choose the text, and yeah, let's put it in there. So insert it in there. Let's just put in the file name, and let's put in description. This is an example text file, and then click on the submit, and we see I've got the file path there, I've got the file name, and I've got the description. So obviously we'd want to do things with those. We'd want to load up the contents of that file and put that into another variable, or there's a little bit of tidying up maybe we want to do. So let's just remove those backgrounds, because they don't really add to the, while they're kind of gorgeous looking, they don't actually add to the general look and feel. Don't look very professional, so let's get rid of them. Okay, then we run that. I think that's pretty close to what we started with, wasn't it? I don't think there was an awful lot of difference. So I've got the save our town at the top there. I've got a little bit of descriptions. I've got the little dialogues. Maybe I want to move some of the things around the place, indent things, shift things along, make sure they're all kind of lined up a bit better. But we're pretty close there. So if you've managed to stick with it this far, well done. It's an awful lot of work, and I have flown through it just because I didn't want it to be lasting for too long, really. But give yourself a pat on the back, well done, and of course, thank you for listening.